I'm leaving on Saturday to go to Korea. I just got back on, I think, I have not even been home a week. And so I've got a hearing. We've got a male-on-male sexual assault case out in Korea. Our client is he's an Air Force service member, and the alleged victim is a Army service member. So it's interesting, got this male-on-male case. Can't get into all the facts yet, but after we hit the acquittal, I'm hoping, after we get the not guilty verdict, 'cause this case is just total BS, I can walk through all the facts because it's really interesting how this plays out. But we've got what's called an Article 32 on Wednesday. And so the Article 32 is essentially a preliminary hearing, or it's a probable cause hearing. It's really equivalent to what you say maybe a grand jury hearing. But it's called a preliminary hearing, or an Article 32, and they make a preliminary hearing officer who's a JAG, who is on the government side usually, makes a determination whether there's probable cause in the case. And every member, if you know what probable cause is, it's like getting pulled over for speeding. That's what the standard is. Reasonable doubt is up here. Beyond a reasonable doubt is very, very high standard. Then you have preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not, or 51%. That's what we have in civilian or civil trials. Then you have this notion of probable cause. What is probable cause? It is really, really low standard. And so the only determination we make, or the government makes, I say the government is the preliminary hearing officer, but they're on the government payroll, they're on the same payroll as the prosecutors, is there a probable cause in the case? So that's what we're doing next week on Wednesday at Osan Air Base, to determine, is there a probable cause in the case? And oftentimes we request like 7 witnesses to testify that some of them are exculpatory. They show that our client's not guilty. There's consent here, or at least mistake of fact as to consent. The government, and you'd think the government would want to know all of the information in a case before they take a case forward. You'd think the government or a prosecutor would want to know all of the evidence in a case so they can make a sound prosecutorial decision. So what does the government do in this particular case? They deny every witness. Every witness we asked for, they denied. We asked for evidence to be admitted at the hearing. They just blanket denied every single witness. And it's not just this case, it's almost every case, which is extraordinary. Then we have to draft a motion, more writing, more time, more effort we got to put in, to the preliminary hearing officer, who's a JAG, works at the Staff Judge Advocate's office, basically a motion to compel all of these witnesses. Everyone denied, saying, nope, you don't need any of them, they're not relevant, they're not necessary. There are statements in the law enforcement packet, or the NCIS packet, or what's called the ROI, the report of investigation, and they're just going to put their written statements in instead of actual testimony. Well, the written statements weren't taken by me. They're summaries of what actual testimony is. There's a lot more that I want to get out to show that there's no probable cause in the case. All denied. We still have to go to the hearing. So it's almost a sham. What happens if you think about, gosh, these old cartoons, you remember the old cartoons, like the big rubber stamp, and it's like, approved, approved, approved. That's all these 32s typically are, these big rubber stamps. So anyways, we still need to go to the hearing because I want to make sure my client's rights are protected at the hearing. I still think there's a chance that we can get a favorable outcome at the hearing. So I don't want to waive that. All right, I don't want to waive that hearing because I want to make sure we get the best representation for our clients. What do we need to do? I've got to fly out to Osan Air Base, and I'm flying out on Saturday because I need an extra day of prep time. So Saturday, all right, I'm flying out, which is in 2 days, I think. So flying out, I've got to fly to Seoul. That is 12 hours from here, 12, 13 hours. Then you get to Incheon. If you've ever been to Seoul, you get to Incheon, which is a beautiful airport, but it's nowhere near anything where any place you need to be in the military. It is about 2.5, 3 hours from Camp Humphreys, where we're typically at in the Army, and about that same distance from Osan Air Base. So you land in Incheon. Now you're in a foreign country. You've got to go. If you don't know your way around, good luck to you. Fortunately, I've been going out there almost monthly for the last 10 years, and I was stationed out there. So you get there, you got to take the bus. Now you get on the bus. Now you got all your, think about this. You've got your luggage, you got your suits, you got your case file. You've flown 13 hours to do a sham hearing. You land at 10 o'clock at night. You're tired, but you just got to push through, grab a Red Bull, push through, get through immigration, grab all your gear, find the right bus. I know the bus number, but if you don't, good luck to you. Then you got to take a bus. The bus is about 2.5 hours. And it's a bus because I'm not driving out there. And then from there, you go to Songtan, then you go to Pyeongtaek, wherever you're going to go. Now, you've been traveling for like 14, 15 hours after your flight, after your beautiful bus ride. And then you're like, I'm not even here yet. Then you get dropped off at a bus station. The bus station isn't at the airbase. So now you get off the bus, you're the guy with 2 big bags, and you're like, oh, okay, why do you have all these bags here? I'm there for 3 days, but you got a case file, you got your computer, you got all your suits, got all this other stuff. And if it's in January, it's -3 degrees. If it's in July, it's 100 degrees, right? So then you're at the bus station. From there, you got to do the sea bag drag over all the bumps and everything else to the street to catch a taxi. So now it's midnight or 1 in the morning. Whenever you're getting there, you've been traveling for 15 hours. You got to get a taxi to your hotel. And then the fun part out in Korea is you get the taxi, and no matter what hotel you're at, if the name is the same, no one knows where it's at. I remember in Seoul, it's the Marriott. I used to stay there. I don't stay there anymore because we don't have bases in Seoul. So I get in the taxi and say, Marriott, 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 the Marriott. And I'd point at the big Marriott. Marriotto? Marriotto. Good. And just the language barrier is interesting because you say the exact same thing, but it's in different languages. So you always have that to deal with. So what you do now is you just get it in Korean or Japanese or wherever you're going to go and just show the driver. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. Then you always have to deal with the inevitable, like they're driving you the wrong way. Like this reminds me of when I was living out in the Philippines. I'm like, why are we going the wrong way? Because it's like, is the meter sick? You know, it's all of these things that happen. And you got to tell them the right way to go because they see that you're trying to get more money out of you or whatever. Then you get to the hotel and we can't get on base because I'm not in the military anymore. So it's not like I'm staying at the on-base hotel. Then I get to the hotel, and that's the evolution. That's 1 day. Then you got to unpack all your stuff, make sure your suits are good to go, you're all squared away, and you got to rack out. Now your time zone difference is 4 or 5 hours, so you get up early in the morning. Then you have to get on base the next morning to meet your client. And that's not easy either because I don't have an ID. And so then you got to make sure you got to get your base pass. You got to stand in line for that. That's often a headache or a real hassle depending on where you're at. That can be a 10-minute evolution or a 2-hour evolution depending on where you're at and trying to do. All of that, then the next day you're crushing it. And I don't mean to be that complaining. I've been doing this for, I've been doing this almost 10 years as a civilian. I did this a long time as a military attorney, and I love it. I mean, I love the travel, but it's legit. And you wonder, like, every time I travel with someone, they're like, how do you keep the pace? Because it can crush you. And then you do a 10, 12-hour day with a client. You're in there crushing it, ready to go, fired up, doing stuff on the whiteboard, getting ready to go. We've got 2 days out there this time. Sometimes I do 1, sometimes I do 2 because I've got a lot of witnesses to interview. Then we go to the hearing. And more things you don't think about if you are not doing military cases. We just learned today that the day of the hearing, they're doing an active shooter drill on Osan Air Base. The day of the hearing, which means I can't get on base. The base is going to be in lockdown. No one's coming in and out because they're doing an active shooter drill in the morning. So our hearing was supposed to be at 8:30 in the morning. Now it's got pushed to 1400. I can't get on base till about 1 in the afternoon. So my whole morning's dead because I can't get on base because of what they call an active shooter drill. I mean, it's important to have the drills, but you don't have that at circuit court, okay? And then we'll do the hearing that day. It'll be a sham hearing because we don't have any witnesses, at least we're not yet. That'll go an hour, hour and a half. We'll draft matters for it. The next morning, the next morning I've got to take off because I've got to fly back because I got other cases. That entire evolution of packing your gear, taking the taxi, getting on the bus, going to the airport, flying back home, that whole evolution, you do it in reverse. You do it in reverse for a 3-hour hearing. And what are the options of you're not going to do the hearing? You got to do the hearing. I mean, I absolutely love this stuff, but at the same time, it can be soul crushing. The travel can be, because we did the North Carolina. Before that, I was in Korea. Immediately after that, I went back to Korea, came home. Then I was in Okinawa. I'm back home a week. Now I'm heading back to Korea. I'll be back home, heading out to Japan after that. It's the same thing, it's different locations.